Ever feel like you're juggling like a million things at once? Systems to keep an eye on, dials to check constantly, big decisions to make, all happening at the same time.
Yeah, sounds pretty familiar.
Well, that's basically the daily grind for a chemical plant control room operator. We're diving deep into that world today, all thanks to those awesome sources you sent our way.
And forget that image of some dusty old room with flickering lights and stuff.
Right, like some old sci-fi movie.
Yeah, totally. We're talking about, like, the nerve center of a modern chemical plant. It's all high-tech monitoring, real-time decision-making, the works.
So it's less about dusty dials and more about being a digital maestro, right? Making sure this whole complex system is in sync.
Exactly. Like, instead of violins and trumpets, you're conducting reactors, valves, maybe a pressure gauge symphony every now and then.
Okay, I like that. The pressure gauge symphony. But seriously, with all that responsibility, even with fancy tech, you must need some mad skills to cut it in this role. What does it take to be the conductor of this chemical orchestra?
Well, for starters, you can't be afraid of a computer screen. But really, attention to detail, that's absolutely key. Think about it. You're analyzing these complex data streams, looking for even the tiniest little thing that seems off,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
because that tiny thing could be a sign of a much bigger issue.
So it's not just about seeing the big picture, it's about catching that one pixel that's out of place in a sea of data.
Yeah, exactly. That level of focus, it's crucial. And then there's the whole technical side. Operators need to be fluent in the language of control panels, got to understand all the ins and outs of how those systems work. And they can't fall behind. There are always new software updates, advancements, the whole 9 yards.
It's like being a tech whiz and a master problem solver all in one. This isn't a learn it once and you're good kind of career, is it?
No way. And this is where it gets really interesting. The chemical industry, it lives on innovation. We're seeing a massive push towards automation, and it's really changing the game for control room operators.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What does this automation revolution actually mean for someone who's thinking, hey, this career path sounds pretty cool?
Well, think about remote monitoring, but on a whole new level, right? You could be controlling these critical systems remotely, using AI to help analyze data, making decisions in real time based on what that AI is telling you. It's pretty amazing.
So the control room of the future, it might not even be a room. You could be monitoring a plant from like anywhere in the world with insane precision and efficiency. Wild. It really is like something out of sci-fi, but it's becoming the reality of this field.
Okay, before we completely lose ourselves in futuristic visions of, like, holographic control panels, let's bring it back down to earth for a sec. Let's say you're ready to jump into this world. You've got the skills, you're driven, you can analyze a data stream like it's nobody's business. How do you actually land that job?
Well, that's where those example profiles you shared come in super handy. Remember, Sarah, started as an intern and like zoomed up to senior operator. Took her, what, just a few years? Oh, yeah, her story blew me away. She was saying how she never hesitated to ask questions, even when she was the youngest one in the room by far.
Exactly. And that's a huge takeaway for anyone starting out right. Don't be afraid to show you're ready to take initiative, find yourself some good mentors, and just never stop learning.
It's not all about what's on your resume then, is it? It's more about having the right attitude, showing them you're eager to learn and grow.
100%. And speaking of growth, we got to talk career progression. Those example profiles showed some really cool paths, didn't they?
Yeah, it wasn't just that straight line like junior operator to senior operator and that's it. There were chances to specialize, go the management route, even branch out into totally different but related fields.
Totally. I think there was one person, they actually ended up leading a team developing, get this, new automation software. But like specifically for chemical plants, talk about a full circle moment.
That's so cool. It really drives home the point that this career path can take you in some pretty unexpected and exciting directions.
It's less about climbing one ladder, more like exploring this whole web of possibilities, right?
Yeah.
And the best way to find your way through that, being prepared. Which brings us to the interview.
Dun, dun, dun. The interview, that nerve-wracking hurdle between you and your dream job. But hey, good news is our sources, they give us some intel on common questions, so hopefully we can help you walk in there feeling prepped and ready to wow them.
And it's not just about like memorizing answers and spitting them out, right? It's about letting your passions shine through, showing what you're good at, sharing your unique perspective.
It's about convincing them that you, out of everyone, are the perfect maestro for their chemical orchestra. All right, hit me with a question. Let's see what we're up against.
Okay, get ready for this one. Tell us about a time you had to troubleshoot a really complex problem under a lot of pressure.
Classic interview question, but in the context of a chemical plant,
Hmm.
the stakes suddenly feel a lot higher, don't they? It's not like you can just hit restart if your code has a bug.
You got that right. This is where you got to show them you can think on your feet, stay calm when things get crazy, and come up with solutions, and fast. The key here, specific examples. Don't just say, oh, I'm a great problem solver. Tell them a story.
Like that time you prevented a total meltdown because you spotted a tiny little error in the data, even though everyone else thought it was fine, just a false alarm.
Exactly. You want to paint a picture for them, make them feel like they were there.
Yeah.
How'd you approach the problem? What steps did you take? And of course, what was the outcome?
So no bragging, just showing them you've got the skills and the right mindset to roll with the punches. What other questions should people be prepped for?
Another one that pops up a lot is, how do you stay updated on the latest technologies, and industry trends?
Another classic, but again, in a field that changes so quickly, it takes on a whole new level of importance.
Totally. This is your chance to talk about how much you love this industry and how committed you are to keep learning and growing. Talk about what you're reading, books, articles, whatever. Been to any conferences, online courses? Tell them.
And don't forget those certifications. It's like putting a gold star on your resume, showing them you're serious about your professional development.
For sure. And as you move up in your career, that drive to keep learning, it'll open doors to those leadership roles we talked about, becoming a supervisor, a trainer, maybe even managing a whole team of operators one day.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. The skills you need, different career paths, how to rock that interview, even why it's so important to never stop learning. That's a pretty solid foundation, right?
I'd say so, yeah. We've laid out the blueprint, but remember, you're the architect of your own career. And that brings me to my final thought for today.
Ooh, lay it on us.
We've talked a lot about automation and what it means for this role. But, have you really sat down and thought about the bigger picture? What are the ethical questions that come with systems getting more and more automated? How will AI change things for control room operators in the coming years? What's that going to look like?
Big questions. So we've talked about the skills, figured out the career paths, even cracked the code on how to ace that interview. But here's the thing about chemical plant control. It just doesn't stop, does it?
You got it. And remember how those example profiles, they couldn't stress enough how important continuous learning is? Yeah, it's not just some fancy buzzword in this field. It's essential.
Okay, so paint a picture for us. What does continuous learning actually look like for someone in this role?
All right, so imagine this. You're not just buried in textbooks all day, right? You're at workshops, getting your hands dirty with the newest tech, figuring out how it all works. Or maybe you're at a conference, chatting with some seasoned operator who's seen it all and lived to tell the tale.
It's like being part of this exclusive club, a community of experts who are all about pushing the limits, seeing what's possible in the field.
Exactly. And let's not forget about all the online stuff, right?
Yeah.
Specialized courses, virtual simulations, you name it. You can level up your skills from anywhere.
So you're telling me I could be on my couch learning how to handle a virtual chemical plant meltdown.
Pretty much.
Sign me up. But seriously, it sounds like there's no shortage of ways to stay ahead of the game in this field.
And that's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Automation is only getting more advanced. So the people who embrace that learning curve, they're the ones who'll be shaping the future of this whole industry.
They'll be conducting those crazy, complex chemical symphonies we were talking about.
You got it. And who knows, maybe they'll be the ones composing brand new melodies, coming up with the next generation of automation tech. That's all out there.
So to wrap things up for our listeners today, if they only take away one thing from this whole deep dive, what should it be?
That the world of chemical plant control, it's constantly changing. Embrace the challenge, don't ever stop learning, and you'll find some amazing opportunities waiting for you.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Remember, this is just the beginning. You've got the info. Now go explore those sources, dig a little deeper, and keep that curiosity alive. Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.